the forest on planet Vera. 7 was alive in ways Mara Lorne had never seen on Earth. The trees were tall, their trunks glowing faintly with a soft blue light, and their leaves shimmered like liquid crystal. Every step she took on the moss-covered ground made a soft crunch, echoing through the dense, alien woods. Mara was a scout for the galactic frontier, trained to handle danger, but even she felt a twinge of unease as she moved deeper into the forest. It had been a long day of surveying the uncharted terrain. Mara had collected soil samples, scanned the area for native life, and marked coordinates for possible future settlements. She was ready to return to base when she heard it, a small, high-pitched cry, almost drowned out by the rustling of the glowing leaves. Mara froze, her instincts kicking in. The cry came again, more urgent this time. She crouched low, scanning the area. "What are you?" she whispered to herself. The forest was home to countless alien species, most harmless, but few could tear a human apart in seconds. The sound was coming from just beyond a cluster of luminescent ferns. Mara approached slowly, careful not to make a noise. Her pulse raced. The cry was soft, desperate, like a baby calling for its mother. But when she glanced around, she didn't see anything, only shadows dancing between the glowing trunks. Then she noticed them, paw prints, large, almost too big for any creature she had encountered on Vera. 7. The prints were fresh, pressed deep into moss, and they led to a tangle of thick vines that seemed almost alive. Mara's heart skipped. Something had been here, and it was not small. She crouched closer to inspect. The vines twisted and coiled, forming a cage-like structure around a small clearing. The cry came again, louder and closer now. Mara's eyes widened. Inside the tangled vines were 2 small, furry creatures. Alien cubs, no bigger than human child. Their fur shimmered with a faint silver glow, and their eyes were wide with fear. They struggled, but the vines held them tightly. Mara's mind raced. Should she intervene? These were wild creatures, and interfering could be dangerous. But their cries tugged at her heart. "I can't just leave them," she muttered. She drew her multi-tool, its blade glowing faint green. With careful precision, she began cutting the vines. The cubs whimpered, sensing her presence, but they didn't panic. Suddenly, a low rumble shook the ground beneath her feet. Mara froze, scanning the trees. The sound came again, louder this time, like something massive moving through the forest. She glanced at the cubs. They looked up at the trees, ears flattened, bodies tense. Mara realized with a shiver. She was not alone. The forest seemed to hold its breath. Shadows shifted between the glowing trunks, moving too quickly for her to track. She finished cutting the last vine and helped the cubs scramble out. They darted to the edge of the clearing, staying close to her feet. Mara's eyes followed the shadows. Then she saw it. A massive shape stepped into the faint light, and the ground seemed to tremble under its weight. Its fur was a dark, iridescent black, and its eyes glowed like molten gold. Mara froze. She had faced dangerous creatures before, but this was something extraordinary. Its head turned slowly, sniffing the air, and it locked eyes with her. Mara didn't move. Her instinct screamed to run, but the cubs were still in danger. The creature, an alpha, as Mara quickly realized, was enormous, easily twice the size of the largest predators she had ever studied. Its gaze was intense, intelligent, almost human in its focus. The alpha let out a low, rumbling growl, vibrating through the clearing. Mara's breath caught. Was it angry? Curious? Protective? The cubs, sensing the alpha, ran to it instinctively, nuzzling close. The growl softened slightly, but the alpha did not leave. Instead, it circled them, watching Mara carefully. Her heart pounded. She had a choice: retreat and risk the cubs, or stay and face whatever this alpha would do next. Slowly, she lowered her multi-tool, showing that she meant no harm. The alpha stopped, tilting its massive head, and studied her. For a long moment, the forest was silent, except for the faint glow of the leaves and the soft breathing of the cubs. Mara felt the tension building, as if the entire forest was watching, waiting to see what would happen next. Then a new sound, a distant guttural roar, echoed through the trees. Mara's eyes widened. Whatever had made that sound was approaching fast, and it was huge. The alpha's ears twitched. It stepped forward, placing itself between Mara and the unseen danger. Mara realized that the forest rules were about to test her in ways she could never have imagined, and at that moment, she knew her life, and the cubs, was about to change forever. Mara's heart raced as she watched the alpha circle the cubs, its massive frame blocking her from the approaching threat. The distant roar echoed again, shaking the leaves and sending a shiver down her spine. She knew she had to act, but every step was dangerous. One wrong move, and the predator could strike. The cubs huddled closer to the alpha, their small bodies trembling. Mara knelt slowly, keeping her hands visible and steady. "It's okay," she whispered, hoping the alpha understood her intentions. For a moment, nothing happened. Then, almost imperceptibly, the alpha's ears flicked. It sniffed the air, gauging her. Mara's eyes darted around. The threat was near, moving faster now. She could hear its heavy footsteps crunching the glowing underbrush. She noticed something alarming. The cubs were not fully safe. One of them had stepped too close to a sharp, thorny vine, and it hissed in pain. Without thinking, Mara moved closer to free the cub. "Come on, little one," she murmured, carefully cutting the vine with her multi-tool. The alpha's golden eyes followed every movement, tense but not attacking. The cub scrambled free, nuzzling its sibling. Mara's relief was short-lived. From the shadows, a massive creature burst into the clearing. A predator far larger than any Mara had imagined. Its skin shimmered with dark scales, and its teeth glinted under forest glow. The ground trembled as it moved. The cubs froze, terrified. The alpha growled, low and dangerous. Its fur bristled, and its eyes blazed with golden fire. Mara felt the warning in its gaze. Stay back or risk death. She instinctively stepped behind the alpha, heart pounding, trying to think of a plan. The predator lunged, jaws snapping, but the alpha met it head-on. The two massive creatures collided with a roar that echoed through the forest. Mara watched, frozen, as the alpha's strength and intelligence became clear. It moved with purpose, striking, dodging, and protecting the cubs. Mara knew she couldn't just watch. Using her scanner, she sent out a high-frequency pulse to distract the predator. The alien creature hesitated, confused by the sound. Giving the alpha an advantage, Mara darted forward, helping the cubs move behind a cluster of glowing ferns. Their tiny bodies shivered, but they followed her lead, trusting the humans as much as the alpha. The battle was fierce, and time seemed to stretch. The predator tried again and again to reach the cubs, but each attempt was met with the alpha's cunning defenses. Mara realized she was witnessing something extraordinary, a bond between species, a protector fighting not for territory or food, but for life itself. After several tense minutes, the predator finally retreated, slinking back into the shadows from which it came. Mara's legs trembled as she sank to the mossy ground, relief flooding her. The alpha stepped closer, towering over her, then looked at the cubs. They nuzzled it gratefully. Safe for now. Mara exhaled slowly, still trying to calm her racing heart. "You saved them," she said quietly, glancing at the alpha. For a brief moment, she saw something in its eyes, something beyond instinct, almost understanding, almost gratitude. But the forest was still alive with danger. Even as the predator disappeared, Mara knew this was just the beginning. There were more threats, bigger and smarter, waiting in the shadows. And now, she was part of something bigger than herself, a fragile, growing bond between human and alien life. The cubs, sensing the tension, pressed closer to the alpha. Mara knelt beside them, brushing a trembling hand over one of their heads. The soft glow of his fur warmed her, a reminder that even in this strange, dangerous world, life could survive if someone was brave enough to protect it. The alpha finally turned its gaze toward Mara, its golden eyes piercing but calm. For the first time, she felt a strained connection, a silent promise that they were now allies in this unpredictable forest. Mara rose slowly, careful not to anger the alpha. "We'll need to move," she whispered, her voice steady. The cubs whined softly, but the alpha nudged them gently, urging them forward. Together, They stepped deeper into the alien woods. Every shadow a possible threat, every rustle a warning. Mara's mind raced. She had rescued the cubs, yes, but at what cost? She realized the forest held secrets she had yet to understand, dangers she had never imagined, and allies she could never have expected. And somewhere close by, the forest waited, watching, judging, and preparing the next challenge. For now, the cubs were safe. But Mara knew the Alpha's vigilance, and her own, would be tested again very soon. The forest seemed quieter now, but Mara knew better than to trust silence. Every glowing leaf, every rustle of the alien grass could hide danger. The cubs padded close to her side, their small bodies trembling, but trusting the massive figure of the Alpha that led them. Mara's eyes scanned the dense trees. She had caught glimpses of the Alpha before, but never fully. Its presence was more than intimidating. It was commanding. She realized just how much this creature dominated its territory. And yet, despite its size and strength, it had allowed her near the cubs. A low rumble echoed through the clearing, vibrating in the moss beneath her boots. Mara froze. Her instinct screamed at her. Whatever was coming was huge. The Alpha tensed, muscles coiled like springs beneath its dark, shimmering fur. The cubs whimpered and pressed even closer to it. Then she saw it. From the shadows of the towering, glowing trunks, the Alpha stepped forward fully. Its golden eyes locked on hers, unblinking, intelligent, and terrifying. It was enormous, easily twice the size of the largest predator Mara had faced. Its body rippled with powerful muscles, each movement precise and deliberate. Its claws scraped softly against the moss, a sound that sent a shiver down her spine. The Alpha stopped a few meters from her. It tilted its massive head, studying her. Mara held her breath, unwilling to move too quickly. She had learned one thing about predators like this. They could sense fear, hesitation, and intent. The cubs, sensing the Alpha's assessment, nuzzled its massive legs. Mara's heart ached at the bond between them. This was no ordinary predator. It was a parent, a protector, and somehow she had become part of its world. Suddenly, the Alpha growled, a deep, rumbling sound that made the ground vibrate. Mara froze, every muscle taut. The cubs yelped and pressed against its side. Mara realized that the growl was not aimed at her. It was a warning, not a threat. The Alpha was guarding its family. But Mara knew the forest held more dangers. The distant roar she had heard earlier still echoed faintly, a reminder that something massive and intelligent was nearby. The Alpha's ears twitched. It sniffed the air, then glanced toward the unseen threat. Mara could see it calculating, deciding how to act. She felt a surge of admiration and fear. The Alpha wasn't just strong, it was smart, tactical, protective. And now, Mara realized it was assessing her too. Could she be trusted? Could she survive in this world without angering the forest's ultimate predator? The cubs moved closer to Mara instinctively. Sensing her as an ally, she slowly reached out a hand, careful to show no sudden movements. The Alpha watched, its golden eyes intense but not hostile. Mara felt a strained connection, an understanding, unspoken but powerful, that somehow bridged the gap between species. The forest was alive with tension. Leaves shimmered, shadows shifted, and the distant roar grew slightly louder. Mara's pulse quickened. She realized the Alpha had no choice but to protect its cubs and her, at least for now. But what if the threat was too large? Too fast? She swallowed hard. "We'll be careful," she whispered, mostly to herself. The Alpha tilted its head again, then turned slightly toward the shadows, signaling the cubs to follow. Mara instinctively mirrored the movement, staying close to the creature she had only just begun to understand. Then, from deeper in the forest, a sound erupted, a guttural, bone-chilling roar. The Alpha stiffened, its body coiling like a spring ready to strike. Mara felt her stomach knot. This was no ordinary predator. It was something intelligent, something huge, and it had noticed them. The cubs whimpered, but the Alpha stepped fully in front of them, blocking Mara from the path. Its growl rose in volume, a clear message to the approaching creature. Stay back. Mara realized then that she was witnessing a remarkable sight, an alien predator defending not just its young, but human, someone who had earned its trust in mere moments. Her mind raced. She had survived countless dangers in space, but nothing like this. Here, in this glowing forest on an alien world, the rules were different. Strength mattered. Intelligence mattered. But above all, loyalty and trust mattered. Mara glanced at the Alpha. Its eyes, golden and burning with intensity, met hers. She understood without words that they were now connected by a fragile alliance. Together, they faced the forest, and whatever was coming next. And Mara knew the Alpha was ready to fight. The forest felt alive around Mara, glowing leaves casting eerie shadows over every step. The distant roars had faded, but the tension lingered. The Alpha stood protectively in front of the cubs, muscles coiled and eyes glowing gold. Mara knew better than to make sudden moves. One wrong gesture could provoke it. For a long moment, they just stared at each other. Then Mara noticed something remarkable. The Alpha's eyes seemed different. Not just intelligent, but thoughtful. It tilted its massive head slightly, then made a low, almost musical rumble. The cubs responded immediately, huddling closer, as if they understood the sound. Mara's heart pounded. Was it communicating? She remembered her training with alien species, but nothing had prepared her for this. The Alpha wasn't just an animal. It was sending messages, directing its cubs, assessing her intentions. Slowly, Mara lowered her hands, showing she meant no harm. She whispered softly to the cubs, "It's okay. We're safe for now." The Alpha's ears flicked, its head tilting again. The rumble grew slightly, and she felt a vibration in the ground beneath her feet, subtle but unmistakable. Her mind raced. Could the Alpha understand her? Could it sense her emotions, her fear, her intent? She tried a cautious experiment. "I won't hurt them," she murmured aloud, keeping her voice low and steady. The Alpha paused, then lowered its massive head slightly, sniffing the air. Its eyes never left hers. The cubs moved a little closer to Mara, sensing her as a neutral presence. She realized the Alpha was testing her, watching to see if she would act with kindness or fear. Mara's breath caught. This wasn't just survival. It was a lesson in trust. Then a new sound broke the silence. A soft crack of branches far ahead. Mara stiffened. The forest was full of predators, some enormous, some intelligent. But the Alpha's response was immediate. It growled low, a sound that rumbled through the trees, and positioned itself between Mara, the cubs, and the source of the noise. Mara understood instantly. She was under protection, but she was also expected to follow its lead. Every instinct screamed at her to run, but she stayed. She had to learn, to adapt, to communicate in her own way with this extraordinary creature. For the next few minutes, they moved slowly through the glowing forest. Mara mimicked the Alpha's calm, deliberate movements, letting the cubs walk close to her. The Alpha occasionally looked back, its golden eyes assessing her, as if teaching her the unspoken rules of this alien wilderness. A rustle from above made Mara look up. Shadowy figures moved silently in the trees. Smaller predators, curious but cautious. The Alpha's body tensed, tail swishing in warning, and Mara froze. She realized that the Alpha's presence was more than protection. It was coordination, strategy, intelligence beyond what she had imagined. Mara began to understand a simple truth. This creature had its own society, its own hierarchy, its own ways of communicating. And for the first time, a human was being allowed into it. The cubs darted ahead to investigate a strange glowing plant, and Mara followed slowly, aware of every sound, every shadow. The Alpha kept a watchful eye, its growls low and measured, guiding her without words. Mara felt a mixture of awe and humility. She was no longer just an explorer. She was a guest, learning to survive alongside a species that had ruled this forest for generations. Then, a sudden movement in the shadows made Mara freeze. The Alpha growled sharply, stepping in front of her. The cubs crouched behind it. Something large, fast, and dangerous had spotted them. Mara's heart raced as she realized the forest was far from safe. But she also realized something else. She was not alone. With the Alpha and the cubs, she had allies, powerful, intelligent, and willing to protect her. And maybe, just maybe, she could begin to understand their silent language. Mara exhaled slowly, feeling a strange connection with the massive creature in front of her. They did not speak the same words, but somehow they understood each other. And in that understanding there was trust. Fragile, yes, but real. For now, the forest had paused. But Mara knew that danger was never far, and every step forward would test her courage, her wits, and the bond she was forming with the Alpha. Mara's heart pounded as she followed the Alpha through the glowing forest. The cubs stayed close, their small bodies darting between roots and ferns. The distant roar from earlier had returned, louder and closer. Mara knew it was no ordinary predator. Something far larger and smarter was approaching. The Alpha's muscles tensed. Its golden eyes scanned the trees, ears flicking at every sound. Mara could feel the raw power radiating from it. She knew that alone, she had no chance against this creature. But together they might survive. Suddenly, the predator burst from the shadows. Its scales shimmered in the forest light, and its jaws opened wide, revealing rows of razor-sharp teeth. It moved with terrifying speed, faster than Mara could have imagined. The cubs squealed and pressed against the Alpha's massive legs. The Alpha growled, a low, warning rumble that shook the ground. Mara instinctively took a step back, unsure of what to do. Then she remembered her scanner. It could emit pulses to confuse alien creatures, and it might be their only chance. Mara activated the scanner, sending out a high-frequency pulse. The predator hesitated, growling in confusion. The Alpha seized a moment. It lunged, claws digging into the ground, striking with incredible precision. The predator snapped at the Alpha, but it was too fast, too clever. Mara watched in awe. The Alpha wasn't just strong, it was tactical, calculating every move. It directed the cubs to safety, guiding them behind rocks and glowing plants, while keeping the predator distracted. Mara realized something extraordinary. She wasn't just an observer. She was part of this fight. Using the scanner, she created a distraction, drawing the predator's attention for a brief moment. The Alpha took advantage, striking again, forcing it back. Mara could see the predator's frustration. It had never faced such coordination. The human and alien were working together, forming an alliance born of necessity and trust. The battle seemed to stretch on forever. The predator lunged. The Alpha dodged. Mara sent pulses, and the cubs followed orders instinctively. Mara's mind raced with admiration and fear. She had never seen anything like this, a bond forming between species, born in the heat of survival. Finally, with a powerful roar, the predator retreated into the shadows, disappearing among the trees. The forest fell silent again, except for the soft breathing of the cubs and the low rumble of the Alpha. Mara exhaled, her legs trembling, relief flooding through her. The Alpha turned its massive head toward her, golden eyes calm but watchful. It was as if it was saying, "We survived together or not at all." Mara nodded, understanding the unspoken message. She was no longer just a human in the forest. She was an ally, a partner in this dangerous world. The cubs nuzzled her hand briefly, then scampered toward the Alpha. Mara smiled softly, feeling a strange warmth. Despite the danger, despite the unknowns, she had earned a place here, at least for now. But the forest was far from safe. Mara could feel it. Shadows moved in the distance, and strange noises whispered to the glowing leaves. Whatever had been hunting them would not give up easily, and Mara knew they would face even greater challenges ahead. The Alpha stepped forward, motioning for Mara to follow. She rose, brushing herself off, and fell in step behind the massive creature. The cubs ran ahead, fearless now, guided by instinct and trust. Mara realized a powerful truth. Survival in this world required more than strength. It required trust, intelligence, and the courage to form bonds with beings far beyond human understanding. And for the first time, she felt ready to face whatever the forest and its dangers threw at her next. Together, they moved deeper into the glowing wilderness. Mara's pulse raced, not just with fear, but with anticipation. The alliance she had formed with the Alpha and the cubs was fragile, but it was real. And in the strange, alien forest, that fragile trust might be the only thing that kept them alive. Mara followed the Alpha and the cubs deeper into forest. The trees grew taller here, their trunks wider and twisted with glowing veins of light. Strange mist clung to the ground, curling around roots and rocks. The air smelled sharp and metallic, a warning that this part of the forest was different, dangerous. This must be the forbidden zone, Mara whispered to herself. She had heard stories from the base, areas of Vera, 7 so dangerous that even the bravest explorers avoided them. Only the most intelligent creatures could survive here, and the Alpha clearly belonged to that group. The cubs darted ahead, fearless. Mara's heart skipped. They seemed to know every path, every hidden danger. The Alpha led the way, muscles coiled and alert. Mara followed closely, trying not to trip on the glowing roots. Every step felt like walking through a living trap. Suddenly, the ground shifted under her boots. Mara froze. She looked down and realized that the forest floor was riddled with strange, pulsating plants. Some moved as if sensing her presence. One brushed her leg, its vine-like tendrils curling, but the Alpha growled and the plant recoiled immediately. Mara shivered. The forest itself obeyed the Alpha. As they moved further, Mara noticed ancient markings carved into giant trees. Symbols she had never seen before glowed faintly, hinting at a civilization that had once thrived here. The Alpha paused at the markings, sniffing them carefully. Mara realized they were learning about their territory, passing knowledge to the cubs, showing them safe paths and hidden dangers. Then, a movement above caught Mara's attention. Shadows shifted in the treetops. Smaller predators, curious but cautious. The Alpha growled low, warning them to stay hidden. Mara understood that even in this forbidden zone, the forest was alive, watching, testing her, and challenging every step she took. A soft, almost musical hum started from deeper within the trees. The cubs perked up, ears flicking. The Alpha's body stiffened. Mara felt a chill. Whatever was making that sound was not a predator in the usual sense. It was intelligent, patient, and waiting. Suddenly, a figure appeared ahead. Part creature, part machine, Mara couldn't tell. Its eyes glowed faintly, scanning them. The Alpha stepped forward, growling, positioning itself between Mara, the cubs, and the unknown figure. Mara realized this was more than survival. It was a test. The forest was teaching her, the Alpha, and even the cubs about danger, trust, and strategy. Mara's pulse quickened. She could feel the weight of the forest pressing in around them. The forbidden zone was alive in ways she couldn't have imagined. Plants, predators, and perhaps even intelligent watchers were all connected. Every step forward was a choice, every movement a risk. The Alpha nudged Mara gently, urging her to follow. She understood. Trust was the only way forward. With a deep breath, she stepped carefully behind the massive creature, letting it guide her through the glowing, twisting forest. The cubs ran ahead fearless, protected by instinct and the Alpha's leadership. Mara's mind raced with questions. Who had carved the ancient symbols? What creatures or intelligences still lurked in the shadows? And most importantly, how could she survive and protect the cubs, while navigating a world that seemed alive, dangerous, and endlessly mysterious? For now, they moved cautiously, shadows stretching around them, every rustle a possible threat. The forbidden zone had begun to reveal its secrets, but Mara knew this was only the beginning. Greater dangers, unseen and unimaginable, awaited, and she would need courage, wits, and the Alpha's guidance to survive. The forest was alive, watching and testing. Mara exhaled slowly. She was no longer just an explorer. She was part of something much bigger, something ancient and powerful. And the next step would determine whether they survived the Forbidden Zone or became its next lesson. The forest of the Forbidden Zone had a strange, uneasy quiet. Mara followed the Alpha and the cubs, her senses alert to every movement. The glowing plants cast shifting shadows, and even the mist seemed to hide secrets. She felt uneasy, but the bond she had formed with the Alpha gave her courage. Suddenly, a familiar voice cut through the silence. "Mara, I knew I'd find you here." Mara froze. Her heart sank. It was Kale, an explorer from her own team, but one she hadn't trusted. His eyes gleamed with ambition, and his grin sent a chill through her. Mara realized immediately. He had followed her into Forbidden Zone, likely looking for the rare alien species she had discovered. Kale stepped forward, his scanner raised, glowing faintly in the forest light. "Step aside, and no one gets hurt," he warned. His gaze flicked to the cubs. Mara's stomach twisted. He didn't care about the creatures. He cared only about the tech he could extract from them, and the glory it could bring him. The Alpha growled a low, dangerous rumble that vibrated through the clearing. Mara moved instinctively in front of the cubs, her hands raised. "Stay back, Kale," she said firmly. "These creatures are not yours to take." Kale laughed, sharp and cruel. "You think you can protect them? Alone?" He advanced, stepping over roots and glowing moss, ignoring Mara's warning. The Alpha's fur bristled, and it stepped fully between Mara and the intruder, its golden eyes burning like fire. Mara realized she had to act fast. Using her scanner, she sent out a high-frequency pulse, aiming to confuse Kale's devices. The man stumbled slightly, distracted. The Alpha seized a moment, growling and moving with precise, calculated steps. It blocked Kale's path, towering over him, a living wall of strength. Kale's grin faltered. He had expected resistance from creatures, not a tactical, intelligent predator capable of defending its own and a human ally. Mara's courage surged. "We fight together," she whispered to the Alpha, and it seemed to understand. The cubs whimpered and darted to Mara's side, trusting her instincts. Kale lunged to the nearest one, but the Alpha moved faster, striking a roar that echoed through the glowing trees. Kale stumbled back, realizing he had underestimated both Mara and the alien predator. The forest seemed to shift around them. Shadows moved, branches groaned, and unseen creatures watched from the mist. Mara and the Alpha formed an unspoken alliance, coordinating movements without words. Mara used a scanner to create distractions, guiding the cubs to safety, while the Alpha blocked every attack Kale attempted. Minutes passed like hours. Every step, every movement, required focus and trust. Mara felt adrenaline pumping through her veins. She had never faced danger like this. Not human, not alien, but now she understood the strength of unity between species. Finally, Kale, frustrated and beaten, backed away. He stumbled into a patch of glowing moss, slipping and sliding as the Alpha's deep growl warned him not to return. Mara watched him retreat into the shadows, knowing he would live. But he had lost the immediate battle. Mara knelt beside the cubs, brushing her hand over their soft, glowing fur. "It's okay," she whispered. "You're safe now." The Alpha lowered its massive head, nuzzling the cubs gently. Mara felt a surge of gratitude and awe. The bond she shared with these creatures had been tested and proven, but the forest was far from done with them. Mara glanced around, shadows stretching between the glowing trunks. The Forbidden Zone still held secrets, dangers, and challenges. Kale's betrayal had been a warning. Trust to be tested, alliances could shift, and survival require every ounce of courage and intelligence she possessed. The Alpha stepped forward, nudging Mara gently, urging her to follow. The cubs ran ahead, fearless under his protection. Mara rose, feeling a mix of exhaustion and determination. Together, they would face the unknown, stronger, wiser, and united. The forest watched silently, waiting, and Mara knew that the final test was yet to come. The forest seemed darker now, the glowing trees casting long, twisting shadows over the mossy ground. Mara followed the Alpha closely, the cubs weaving between their legs. The air felt heavy, charged with the promise of danger. She knew this was a final test, the moment where trust, courage, and intelligence would be pushed to their limits. Ahead, a low rumble shook the ground. Mara's pulse quickened. She could sense it before she saw it. The ultimate predator of the Forbidden Zone had arrived. Its eyes glowed red in the shadows, teeth sharp and gleaming. Unlike Kale, this creature was not human, not a rival. It was pure strength and cunning, born to dominate this forest. The Alpha growled, a deep, rumbling sound that vibrated through Mara's chest. The cubs pressed closer, sensing the tension. Mara felt fear, but also determination. She had come too far to back down now. The predator lunged. The Alpha met it head-on, muscles coiled and strikes precise. Mara moved quickly, using her scanner to distract the creature, drawing its attention in brief bursts. The cubs darted behind rocks and roots, staying safe under the alpha's protective shadow. The battle was fierce. The predator attacked with strength and speed, but the alpha was faster, smarter, and more determined. Mara watched in awe as it moved with purpose, defending not only its cubs but also her, a human ally. Kale had been gone, retreating after his failed attempt, but the danger now was far greater than any human rival. Mara realized the alpha's choices would determine the fate of all of them. If it failed, none would survive. If it succeeded, they would earn a fragile peace in this wild, alien world. The predator lunged again, but the alpha anticipated the move. With a powerful strike, it sent the creature sprawling, buying Mara a moment to create another distraction. The predator recovered, eyes blazing with fury, but it hesitated. The alpha's courage, strategy, and sheer strength had earned its respect. Finally, with a final coordinated effort, the alpha struck decisively. The predator retreated into the shadows. Defeated for now, the forest grew quiet, alive only with the rustling of leaves and the gentle breathing of the alpha and the cubs. Mara exhaled, trembling but relieved. The alpha turned its gaze toward her, golden eyes meeting hers. In that moment, Mara understood the message without words. The alpha had chosen her as an ally, a protector, someone worthy of trust. It was more than a predator. It was intelligent, loyal, and capable of love in its own way. Mara knelt beside the cubs, brushing her hand over their glowing fur. "We made it," she whispered. The alpha nudged her gently, a silent affirmation of the bond they had formed. She realized something powerful. In this strange, alien world, courage alone was not enough. Survival required trust, understanding, and the willingness to form connections across species. The alpha had taught her that lesson in the most profound way possible. The cubs played at her feet, fearless now, guided by instinct and the wisdom of their parent. Mara stood, feeling stronger, wiser, and forever changed. She had faced betrayal, danger, and the unknown, but she had not faced it alone. The forest watched silently, approving or indifferent, Mara could not tell. But she knew the alpha and its cubs would continue to thrive, and she had earned a place in their world, not as a conqueror, but as a friend and protector. As the sun, or whatever passed for sunlight on Vera 7, filtered through the glowing canopy, Mara smiled. The adventure was over, for now, but she knew this world held more mysteries, more dangers, and more lessons. And with the alpha by her side, she was ready for anything. For in the end, the alpha had chosen wisely, and Mara had chosen courage. Together, they had survived the Forbidden Zone, and together, they would face whatever came next.